All right, so part of my anesthesia charting app is actually this whole thing of generating a PDF, right? Initially, we would just kind of make it so that you would have to. So there's this crazy final report that has all the things in it, right? So this gives you an idea of what it looks like, and normally on a long case, on a real case, this would be stretched out. There'd be all this data on here showing vitals throughout the case, oxygen administered, drugs administered, blah blah blah. And the other thing is, but ultimately, like I want you to be able to either print it off. So if you hit Control P, why didn't that work? Get a nice little preview of what it looks like, and but I also wanted this, ability to just kind of consistently generate it because. So I made this download PDF button. So if you're on an iPad or something and you want to actually download a PDF of the report, it sends it off to a report rendering service that I set up. So then the question is, how do you take a bunch of data that's stored locally to this app? Because if you recall, so here's the actual final report. If you recall, the data is all local to this, it's stored locally, right? So in order for this to work, it has to somehow send the page data somewhere else. But I didn't want to write a completely different report rendering solution, right? I've already figured out how I want to lay out the report, and I make it here, right? So I have this already, and I just want to use it. So the way that I did this is, which I thought was kind of interesting, is using Google App Engine to actually run an instance of Chrome headlessly with a tool called Puppeteer, and then actually return. So it actually spins up the current version of my application, injects the locally stored the data that was posted to it into the app by running some JavaScript on the page after it boots it up in this headless browser, and then saves the PDF for you and responds with that. So the code for that, so I set up this report renderer service. This is like a little microservice that this is all it does. And initially I tried to do this as a like a cloud function, so totally like serverless or what have you. But the problem was that the boot up time was brutal. So I ended up switching to using just an Express server that's running on Google App Engine. So yeah, so for this, it's pretty simple, just app setup stuff. I had run one service for both the production and staging version of the report renderer. It just loads the appropriate app, if that makes sense. So then here's the actual stuff. So again, using Puppeteer, which is awesome. And Puppeteer is just a way to it gives you like higher level controls. Like, so you can say, launch a version of the browser, give us a new page. And then we can say, right, so page go to, and you give it a URL. So here I'm giving it the URL from up here, either the stage version of or the production version of the report. So it's literally loading this page. You'll notice the URL here is /report. And if we switch back here, we're literally running this page in headless Chrome and hitting print, but we're doing it remotely. So then, and then I made like a little special Redux action for the app that lets you full on replace the entire state. Because if you spin up a Redux, you're gonna have some like default state built in there. So I just made an action creator that basically lets you replace state on the whole darn thing, and just replace the entire contents of your Redux state. So that brings it up to date with what it should be. And then also for the title, because we want that as part of the file name, we actually extract the current page title, which includes the name of the patient, the date, etc. And then returns it as a PDF here. So we can say page PDF. We can do a legal size document, no margins, and then just respond with the PDF here, which is, I think, kind of a neat way to handle this. So I don't have to build up a different thing. There could be some potential that it gets rendered by a slightly different version of the app because I'm not sending a specific version. It just loads whatever the current latest version is here. If you watch my other video about the permanent service worker, potentially that could be an issue. That's why I'm still timing deploys to on-off hours. But regardless, this works really well for me, and it means I didn't have to invent a whole other thing for it. And I also made it because iOS is such a pain, and a lot of people are doing this on iPads. I had to make it so that I could do a form post in certain cases. So on iOS, because it's really ridiculous how that works, instead of showing you a nice little, hey, I'm downloading your report button, it instead says, it just opens a new tab and posts. Right. So the other thing I wanted to show you is just the part about replace state. And so I actually made that a feature in Redux Bundler. So if we look at Redux Bundler, which is the tool that I use to kind of wrap up Redux and kind of make sure that you access everything through selectors. And anyway, I could do a whole thing on Redux Bundler, but I'm not going to right now. Point is, it's pretty easy to add this kind of capability to Redux. If you take the root reducer and wrap that, then you can say, okay, enable replace state. So somewhere, let's see, enable replace state. Right. So I have this enhancer. I enhance the reducer right here. Right. So combine all the reducers from different things and then enhance it with this capability. And this enhancer just adds the support for replace state, which basically just says take everything that's currently in Redux state and replace all of it with my payload. So yeah, and otherwise do nothing, right? So see how this has the state here, and then here we're just taking the entire payload. So you replace the entire state. So by doing that, we can pass stuff from the app, from the app in one place, and reinflate it in the app somewhere else. And you've kind of created a mimicked version of that exact same thing in a different place, which I thought is kind of a cool way to handle this. So in case you ever need to generate some PDFs for an app that you're building, this might be one way to go about doing it. All right, thanks, bye.